Welcome to today's episode. Today I have Jeff. Jeff, can you go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Hey guys, my name is Jeff Robison. I'm a lifelong martial artist. I am based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. I own 2 gyms in Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky, Club MMA. I also run an organization called Focus Fight Team. I've been doing that for the past 11 years, where I help martial arts schools develop curriculum for Muay Thai, for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, business consulting, kind of help your school go from here to here. I've been running an academy for well over 20 years, and I've got a lot of experience. I've got a lot of systems in place, and I want to help people grow. And, like you, I want to leave martial arts better than I found it. So that's my main objective. I also, in martial arts, train a lot of fighters, in MMA, BKFC. So we're doing all kinds of stuff. My academy is doing really well in Cincinnati, and I'm just excited to be able to have some conversations about martial arts. I'm a well-rounded martial artist. I've been training for 30 years and in all kinds of styles. And, I've got black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, black belt Taekwondo, lots of Filipino martial arts. I'm a Kru in Muay Thai. So I love martial arts. I'm a martial art nerd, and I'm just here to help the cause.
So before the show, we were talking about your Instagram and some videos you had up. Let's get back into that.
Well, with the things that you're trying to do, you're trying to, get other styles of martial arts to communicate to each other.
Yeah.
And show, let's be honest, okay? All of this wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all the traditional stuff. Wouldn't be here if there wasn't war. You know what I mean? So we go back to all these things on why martial arts was really invented. It wasn't for the art. It was for the martial side, the protect our village, protect our land, protect our country, right? Then later it became an art.
Yeah.
Art is what keeps it going, because we're not walking around with swords anymore. It's a little different. There's a lot more laws. There's a lot more this, we don't have to hunt for our food. We choose to, so, now martial arts is very sport oriented. And people start to categorize themselves. And, hey, I'm a sport guy. Hey, I'm a traditionalist. Hey, I'm all about self-defense. Great. Do whatever you want. If that's what makes you happy. But the point is don't shit on everybody else. And the only way you're going to get somebody to listen to you is if you shit on them for a second to get them to clickbait. When we were talking, I was telling you I made a video on my Instagram and said karate is stupid. And, it was a clickbait, 2,000 likes and probably about 500 comments. And my whole premise was, it was to show horse stance. Because everybody, growing up, it was just stand in this stance, get your legs conditioned. We're going to throw punches and high blocks and do all this stuff. And no, martial value was given out of it. It was just, this is for conditioning. And a lot of people will die on that sword saying that's what it's for. Well, if you cross train and you do all these other styles of fighting, and you start to see wait a minute, I'm in an MMA fight right now. I'm standing in the guard and I'm punching down. Look at my stance. Look where my hands are. I'm doing all this ground and pound from the top of guard. I'm like, wait a minute. Were they really that smart? I think they were.
Yeah, I think so.
Passing the guard. Where my hands are, protecting myself. There's multiple takedowns from that position. So and then even in sport jiu-jitsu, like the gi, I'm gripping and I've got these grips and I'm pulling them to my hips to keep my feet on them, to keep retention. That's just horse dance laying on the floor. You know what I mean? So, and everybody's all up in a huff about everybody wants to be right and nobody wants to be happy. And I'm choosing to be happy. I see the value of it everywhere. But I would have never got there if I wouldn't have just jumped over in my neighbor's swimming pool. You know what I mean? If I'm only focused on what's going on in my pool and I don't start jumping over, everybody will be willing to dip their toes.
Yeah.
but not everybody's willing to just dive in. So I've just dove in on everything. You know, I grew up Tang Sudo, grew up Taekwondo, did some karate, judo as a kid, and then started transitioning into boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, Filipino martial arts, JKD. And man, why would you not? You know, you learn, 6, 7 subjects in school every day for 12 years. That's a requirement. The whole point to learn all those subjects is to see how they all come together later. You know what I mean? So I just think that should be a part of the journey. So I've just taken that journey and I've never looked back. And I learned more about my base art by going out and studying the other arts, because it comes back and you're like, well, wait a minute, I've done this move a million times. Now I'm doing it in a different context or with some context, and it's coming back and just, it adds more value to my base art.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I think is important. But man, I pissed a lot of people off, and but I got them talking, and that's the start.
That
you
is-
know. So I have a whole list of more clickbait videos that I want to make to show these moves are in every art. The
Yeah.
horse stance is in every art. You know what I mean? It's in Muay Thai. It's in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's in karate. It's in Taekwondo. It's in Kung Fu. You know what I mean? So like, why are we all mad about it? You know, everybody just wants to be right, and they feel like they're being misrepresented. Being misrepresented. They're not. The stance represents it, and it's everywhere. So I say, start jumping in. Do the horse stance and lay on the ground and look up. Right? Do the horse stance and look down and punch a bag. Just try it. You know what I mean? That could be like your first lesson. So I just think, and that's just one position of the styles. You know what I mean? Like, looking at it all, you know, how we block and how we do this and how we do that. It's in everything. In my opinion, the only thing that's different about styles is the approach.
Yeah.
That's it. The stances are all the same. The approach is what changes. You know what I mean? I learned a lot transitioning from like Taekwondo, karate to kickboxing. I learned a lot transitioning into wrestling from Jiu-Jitsu, because Jiu-Jitsu guys train a little different. And then you go to a wrestling practice and you're like, wait a minute, this is different. You know, and the moves are all the same, but it's how they practice. It's how it's coached and facilitated. And you know, because like wrestling practice, man, you're going for 2 hours straight. You might rep a move 300 times, and you're going to do it in 10 different ways, you know, and you're going to do it static, learning the coordination. Then you're going to do it in motion. Then somebody's going to be a body and you're going to do it to them. Then they're going to give you levels of resistance, all the way up to now I'm an hour and a half in, and now I'm going live and I'm making that move work, you know? So it's just different, you know? And I think if anybody wants to make their art better, don't change the moves. You don't need to. Change your approach. You know what I mean? Speed it up a little bit. Add some resistance to it. And that will make, and then you'll discover way more, because you have to be able, the moves are useless if you can't make them work live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like, the art keeps the moves there, but the martial side, the word martial side keeps the moves practical, you know. So I think that's what's important about this whole topic.
So what first got you into martial arts as a whole?
So I got started in martial arts when I was like 7 years old. My dad did martial arts. This is back in the 80s. My dad did martial arts in the 70s. When Taekwondo first landed in Cincinnati, and he took it. And then in the 80s, you know, I'm probably like 6 or 7 years old, and Enter the Dragon came on TV, and he's like, you need to watch this. This is the greatest movie ever. And then, and I was like, I can do that. And he's like, what do you mean? And I started punching and kicking and this and that. And he's like, well, we should get you in martial arts. And I have an older brother and a younger brother. And that was really never a conversation. You know, we all played sports and stuff, but I was the only one that showed interest in it from my dad. And then I'm in first grade, sitting next to my pal, Andy Page, looks over to me. He's like, "Hey, man, you want to come and do karate in my uncle's basement?" And I'm like, "Yeah." His mom called my mom. They came and picked me up, started taking karate in Uncle John's basement. And that's how it all got started. And then it's just been 30 plus years since then. So, and I eventually, as a teenager, quit all other sports and just went all in on martial arts. So it's been the greatest experience and thing I ever did.
That's awesome, man. So you've been nonstop then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I wish I could say the same. I like started when I was a kid, took some breaks. I think at 11 I quit, came back at 13. There was a little time in between, but then got really into it in my later teens, and it just became a way of life. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much all I know. I mean, I'm athletic. I could have played other sports. I could have played sports in high school, but I just loved it too much and I never missed. And my mom was not happy about me training. She was the housewife and my dad worked, and her responsibility was to take all the boys to all the practices and stuff like that. And she's like, "I'm not taking you to martial arts. Your dad is." So my dad came home from work, choked down his food. "Hey, let's go." Got me in the car, drove me up. I did a 2-hour practice. He would go to a fitness gym and lift and come back and pick me up. And we did that 3 nights a week since I was a little kid until I could drive.
Nice, nice. So when did you start Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
So I didn't get into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu until I was about 22. Um, when I went to college and I took probably 6 months off for college and finally like got back into the school I was with. And within a month, the owner's like, "Hey, do you want to teach a class for me?" Because I was on my own. I just got out of college, and I didn't have any money. I had a job. He's like, "Come up and just teach a class and you can train." And within 6 months, he's like, "Hey, do you want to work for me?" And I was, "Yeah, absolutely." And so I became a full-time instructor at 22, teaching Taekwondo. And we had a family there that had an uncle that trained jiu-jitsu that lived in West Virginia. Started hooking up with him, and um, which then led me down the path of researching jiu-jitsu. And then eventually I ended up at a trade show out in Vegas, probably 6 months later, via my boss, because we were going out there for a business conference. And I met these guys. They taught jiu-jitsu. They had a program. It was literally just a big old book and a DVD, and I bought it with my own money, and I just started studying it, and then eventually started, "Hey man, I'm reading your book. What do I got to do? What do I got to do? What do I got to do?" And eventually built a relationship with the guys that wrote the book, David Meyer and John Will. They're both Higa Machado coral belts now. They've been doing jiu-jitsu for a really, really, really long time, and I've been under them for the past 20 years, 20 plus years, and under Higan as well directly. And I've had the chance to train with all the Machado brothers. So that's how it got started. It was just reading a book. And while I was teaching full-time, I had these 2 teenagers. They're like 14, 15 years old. They were homeschooled, and they're like little gym rats. So I bought this program, and I was like, I need a training partner. So I called their mom and said, "Look, I'll buy them gis. I'll pick them up. I'll bring them to the gym. We're going to train this morning and this morning. Can I have them before their school starts?" We did that 3 days a week for years, until they could drive, and then they're driving themselves. And that's how it all got started. Just learning the moves, repping the moves, rolling. Anytime that there was a seminar. Now, this is back in like 2004 when this all got started. So like there were no jiu-jitsu schools in my area. I was just doing it, closed door sessions in a Taekwondo school, and eventually got my blue belt in 2006. And I still have a relationship with those 2 kids. They're men now. One's a black belt, one's still a brown belt. But, life gets in the way and stuff. But, yeah, that's how it all got started. And then Jiu-Jitsu started to hit, YouTube started to hit, Jiu-Jitsu magazine started to hit, seminars were hitting pretty hard, so I was able to expand my knowledge base and really start to kind of get an understanding of how this whole Jiu-Jitsu thing works. So that's how it got started. It was still, I didn't take a formal Jiu-Jitsu class until I was like a purple belt. And it just so happens I was out and about on vacation and I was like, oh, Jiu-Jitsu school. Well, that was the first time I ever took a formal class. So it's kind of wild.
Yeah, that is. You had the foundation you were talking about earlier about how the techniques, I'm sure it was easy for you to pick up.
Yeah, I mean, I was young, athletic, you know what I mean? Like, and I wanted to learn. And I remember watching, the first UFC when I was like 12 years old. And I'm like, I got to learn how to do that stuff. But it just, wasn't available. So, it eventually happened later. But yeah, getting a jiu-jitsu black belt was tough, man. It took about 12 years. And you're, doing it on your own. You know what I mean? I would see my instructor maybe once a year or every other year. And the rest of it was just learning moves, figuring it out, building a curriculum, flying out to, because my two coaches, one lives in California, the other one lives in Australia. So, seeing John was really tough. And only time I'd get to see him is if he was traveling throughout the states and stuff, and I could host him for a seminar. But David was always had the doors open for me, so I could go out and see him whenever I wanted, which was very, very, very helpful.
Yeah, yeah. So teaching, when you taught full time, did you have any issues with ego in the classroom?
Teaching jiu-jitsu?
Jiu-Jitsu or Taekwondo at any point in your time as an instructor?
Well, I mean, I think dealing with ego it's always going to happen. You know what I mean? People, when they walk in the door as a school owner and as a coach, there's a lot you need to know. It's not just know a bunch of moves. We're going to do these moves. We're going to spar, go home, and then, I clean the mats. If you really want to help people, you have to have an understanding of what kind of types of people are going to walk through the door, and people are going to walk through the door. What I try to do is I try to have a baseline. This is my baseline right here. This is culture, mat culture. Okay. Some people will come in above the line and some people will come in below the line. My goal, however they are, when you meet them and you do your introductions and you spend a week with them, assess, are you above the line? Are you below the line? And then you know what you're dealing with. So if they come in above the line, they might have some ego. They might be thinking that, hey, they're better than they really are, or they're super physical and they don't understand like appropriate training culture. We have to bring them down.
Yeah.
Right? We either have to bring them down, and if they refuse to come down, you got to go. And I haven't had too many problems with that, as long as you're kind and nice and do things appropriately. There might be a couple times where I might have to beat you up or have somebody beat you up, but that's just all part of it, because that's what we're doing. And then have appropriate conversations. But people below the line, if they're willing, because you got these guys, they either come down or they don't want to. Okay. So if they don't want to, cool, you can go somewhere else. I'm not interested. This is a community. I'm here to serve the community, protect the community. Then you have people below the line. And, below the line are people that want to be better. They might lack confidence. They might lack a sense of community. They might just be really bad out of shape. Okay, cool. We're going to help bring you up to that. But you also might have people that come in and they're just negative Nellies, and oh, I can't do that and this and that. And then eventually what's going to happen is they're going to go too, because they can hurt the culture just as bad as these guys, up there. So as long as everybody's willing to let the ego go, they can either come down and be a part of the team, or they can rise up and be a part of the team. So that's the approach. That's how I visualize it, and that's how I work on it with my staff. In the assessments, it's like, oh man, this guy's really athletic. He's a little rough right now. No problem. I need you to slow down, not be so rough, because the attributes that you have are amazing, but you haven't even given technique a chance yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then And then the people below the line, come on, man, you got this. We're going to do this together. You know what? I'm going to be your partner tonight, and I'm going to show you that you can do it. So bring those guys up, bring those guys down. Great training culture. And that right there, that line, you have to protect it. I think that's a really important thing about being on the mat. And that doesn't matter if it's jiu-jitsu or kickboxing or karate or taekwondo. You got to have your culture, your way, right? Your do, your way of doing things, and that's what you protect.
Usually, in my experience, ego usually resolves itself. Like how you said, it'll disappear one way or another. Have you seen those Jonah Hill memes that are going around?
A little bit, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Clickbait, dude. I have to do social media to promote stuff, but like it's all clickbait, you know what I mean? And people just want to argue about stuff when you you could be training or doing something to better the world. So like I'm not getting involved. I could care less.
Yeah.
You know. I just want to help my community and keep pushing forward. I'm not interested in any of the garbage out there. There is some really good stuff, and anything that's good and inspirational stuff that's worth sharing, I share it. But I'm just not interested because all it's doing is just tearing down what we're trying to build up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not, and everybody wants to be right, you know. So I'm not interested.
So Muay Thai, you also coach Muay Thai?
Coaching Muay Thai. I mean, obviously, I love Jiu-Jitsu. I think going from striking to grappling really made my confidence go through the roof because, you know, people are going to grab you. You're going to fall down. You're going to slip. And being able to deal on the ground and be able to get back up, that just made my confidence go through the roof. And plus, Jiu-Jitsu is there's a sense of sensitivity of feeling, you know, when you wrestle. And that really helped my confidence go through the roof. But transitioning from a karate and a taekwondo to kickboxing was easy because I loved kicking. You know, Bloodsport came out. I mean, I'm a kid. I'm out on 2 chairs. Hey, Dad, look what I can do. You know, so transitioning kickboxing was pretty easy for me. I got very lucky when I first started to transition over to kickboxing. The academy I was teaching at had a fitness gym right next to it. And the general manager was like a 24-hour gym. And the general manager chose to always work the 3rd shift. And so he would work from like 10 p.m. to like 8 a.m. And as soon as he would get done working, he would go upstairs. There was like an open area and he had a heavy bag. And he'd go upstairs and just do like a kickboxing workout. And I was in there one morning. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh man, I used to kickbox and I'm a black belt in Kempo. Like, yeah, I did a bunch of fights and stuff. And this guy's, you know, probably a good 10, 15 years older than me. And I'm like, dude, can I work out with you? And he started teaching me, you know, transitioning to boxing and stuff like that. His name's Marty Salone. Great dude. Still around in my area, still coaches. And started learning from him, you know, the transition of boxing and slipping and rolling and doing all the punches and stuff. And he started to build up a little bit of a group. And we would get together and spar and stuff. And so that was awesome. And then I started researching like Muay Thai and curriculums and stuff. And I ended up hooking up with Master Toddy in like 2006 when he was in Vegas. Flew out to Vegas, started just spending a week at a time there when I could get out there, and went through his like coaching course before it was a coaching course. And then was out there quite a few times from probably like 2006 to 2009. And then he ended up moving back to Thailand. And I was like, okay, well, eventually as my school got bigger and I made some money and saved some money, I was able to I've been to Thailand a couple times to go visit him and stuff. So he's the one that got me started. Probably the smartest, most fight IQ person I've ever met. Complete system on everything. Great coach. The experience that I receive from him is the experience that I want my students to receive from me, which is when I'm in his presence, I feel like I can do anything. And that's what I really loved about Master Toddy. And because it's just like when he moves and he said, no, you're my friend, you do it like this. And I'm like, I can do that. He's just awesome. He's charisma. He's fun. He's intelligent, and he has trained so many champions. You know, Gina Carano's one of them. When she was doing all of her Muay Thai, he's worked with so many people, and just going over to Thailand and just, you get to stay at his gym. He's got fighter dorms. We'll go there for a week and just train twice a day, get private lessons, go on tours and stuff. They'll take you to the fights, and just a great experience. So, yeah, I've been doing Muay Thai for, good 20 years now, and that's going really well. I've taken the things that I've learned from him, from the Thai style, and kind of created my own little system for American kickboxing. And we use a lot of it for MMA. So we'll compete in kickboxing, like American style kickboxing, which is like, if you go back and watch the old Chuck Norris, Joe
Yeah.
Louis,
Benny the Jet.
days, Benny the Jet, Bill Superfoot Wallace, that was just straight good hardcore boxing with kicks, but all kicks were above the belt. So then the Thai guys started coming to America, and you got like the Rufus brothers, fighting the Thai guys and stuff, and then the leg chops started to hit. But still, there was no elbows, there was no clinch, and it started to gradually transition. But now you can't really do an authentic Thai style Muay Thai and fight MMA because you'll get taken down. You know what I mean? And their pace is slower. So I've taken all the things I've learned from Master Toddy, and Master Toddy is a wizard. So he gets the transitions that need to be made, because a lot of MMA fighters trained with him. So I've kind of taken the stuff that he showed me, mixed with all the other things that I know from, Taekwondo and Western boxing and wrestling and Jiu-Jitsu, and I've kind of formed it all together into my current system and program, which is something that I work with school owners, because they're looking for a kickboxing system that's organized, set up, and easy to facilitate, and that can be used for Muay Thai, kickboxing, or striking for MMA. I love Jiu-Jitsu, and I know a lot about Jiu-Jitsu, but striking is what I know the most. And I've had plenty of guys fight, Muay Thai, boxing, BKFC. Just had my guy, Zach Russ, fight in the BKFC back in Nashville, and literally 1 in 45 seconds. His striking is off the hook.
It's awesome.
So, yeah.
I'm surprised kickboxing is not bigger in America. I love it. I watch it, but I'm surprised it's not bigger over here.
So it is starting to become bigger in America, which is great. Talk to my friend Paul Revlin from Rev Gear. You know Rev Gear, the brand? Yeah. So I'm buddies with Paul, the owner, and we talk about this all the time, because kickboxing now striking is becoming more relevant in the United States now more than ever. And, because it just used to be boxing, and then it was MMA, but like Jiu-Jitsu, blew up. Jiu-Jitsu tournaments in my town, every weekend, different organization. You can compete in Jiu-Jitsu and only have to drive 20 minutes, and you can go every weekend. Well, now Muay Thai and kickboxing is finally starting to grow. Do you know what the problem is and why it hasn't grown compared to Jiu-Jitsu?
No, what's that?
Okay. So Jiu-Jitsu tournaments can rent out a hall or a basketball court, set up their mats, do registration. They'll do their weigh-ins. Everybody will compete, belt ranks, weight classes, boom, 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 pump it out in a day. The thing with striking is there has to be the state athletic commission has to be involved, right? So, you've competed in like a Taekwondo tournament, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you compete in a Taekwondo tournament, now, forms, board breaking, maybe weapons, and then they'll do either one, old school was point sparring, right? So they come in, strike, get a point, right? And then they came up with continuous sparring. Yeah. But you're not allowed to punch the face. You could kick the head, but knockouts were looked down upon. So by not having knockouts, if you state in the rules that there's no knockouts, the athletic commission doesn't have to get involved.
Oh, okay.
So you see the trick? So a couple organizations have figured out if we do scrimmages or we do no knockout competition, we can make Muay Thai or boxing happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there's a couple organizations right now that I'm totally for that are doing that. And it's a great way. It's kind of like going to a karate tournament or a taekwondo tournament and you get to compete in a kickboxing match. It's just kind of hard sparring, but there's no knockouts. And then they'll do multiple rounds and then the judges will call winner or loser. And it's a great day. And that is a great way to start people competing. And then they've set up a circuit, so like a national circuit for jiu-jitsu is like Naga or Fuji.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of those
Yeah.
guys? Right. So they got these national circuits for jiu-jitsu, and now they're starting to become kickboxing circuits that are doing the no knockout, or they call it technical matches, where they'll still have a winner and a loser, and it'll be point based. The safety is you can't knock each other out. And if that would have hit 10 years ago, it would be 10 times bigger. But now somebody finally figured everything out to keep the athletic commission out, right? So these organizations, they're doing two things. They're doing tournaments like that, which are great. I've gone to a couple. And then those organizations are also hosting a fight card.
Okay.
Full-size ring, weigh-ins, blood work, all the protocols that you have to do. But that one, the athletic commission comes in, gets involved. You get what I mean? That's a show.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot going on with Muay Thai. If you look up TBA out in Iowa, and that's the like biggest kickboxing Muay Thai tournament in the country, in North America. Competed in that quite a few times, had some guys win some belts. It's just so big. It's spread out over like 4 or 5 days. Totally recommend that one. Now that one's legit. You can knock people out in that one in Iowa. But if you're just trying to find something local, there's some good, no knockout tournaments where you can get your students that are just getting started. And when I train a fighter for MMA, I'd like them to do 1 or 2 of those, a couple of jiu-jitsu tournaments, then we can go do an amateur fight for MMA.
Okay.
So I think Muay Thai is growing. I think there's a lot of potential there. I want to be helpful in it. It's not where I want to spend all my time. I prefer to compete more in the MMA circuit. But if I got people that just come in and striking and be like, hey, there's this tournament, it's in town, it's 20 minutes. Yeah, man, go down. You're just gonna have a hard sparring day. It's great. And you get an opportunity to be weight classed, skill, get a couple rounds in, and it's totally worth it, in my opinion.
So do you have a website for your business side of things that you do?
Yes. So my gym is on www.club-mma.com. That's my gym in Cincinnati. And then our fight team, or my organization that I run, is focusfightteam.com.
And I'm going to link all that stuff in the description too. So.
Oh, yeah, great. Yeah.
So who's your favorite fighter?
Right now, currently, and I'm going to butcher her name, Dakota Divinity, whatever.
I know who you're talking about.
She fights for the PFL, 125er, tall blonde. I think she is probably the most well-rounded fighter there is in the world right now. And man, watching her fight, she can switch. She comes from a Muay Thai base. It's like a family thing. So she is absolutely amazing. Her feinting, her switch stance. She came into MMA as a Muay Thai fighter, so she had to go back and get all the grappling. But her fight IQ is just off the hook. She's fights intelligently. She can kick. She can knee. She can clinch. PFL's kind of an interesting organization because certain fight cards they won't allow them to elbow.
Yeah.
But she's, to me, the total package. Especially the more she gets involved in grappling and stuff. I mean, in her fight record, she's got a submission, so she's learning. But to me, she's just amazing. From a tech, she's like fun to watch. She's technical. She makes everything work. She's calculated. I study her all the time because I just think how intuitive it is for her to be able to throw punches, transition stances, constantly, evade hits, follow up, and she's just a killer. So she's probably by far my most favorite fighter right now. And she's still young, got a couple years still left in the tank. I don't know if she'll ever transition to the UFC, but like I'd like to see her fight some harder fighters or harder fights. But I think she's amazing to watch.
Yeah.
She's somebody that like I'll pull video and be like, we're doing this. Watch how intuitively she transitions in when she strikes. I'm a huge fan of her, and she makes it work consistently.
It's awesome. So, being a coach versus being an instructor, what's some of the things that you've learned being a coach that you didn't realize being an instructor?
Well, are we classifying those words as the same or different?
I mean, ultimately, I think it's the same, but different.
I never asked to be called a coach. I never asked to be called anything. The word coach came out when I was one of my guys that works for me. He's been working for me for 15 years. Pro MMA fighter, athlete, got him when he was like 19. We're training one day because like to the kids, they just called me Mr. Robison. And he comes in and we're training, and all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, coach," and I was like, "Are you talking to me?" He's like, "Yeah, you're like the coach, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm like the coach." And then that's how the word got stuck.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not like a huge title guy. So like, they're like, "Oh, well, should we call you Kru or Professor or Sensei or any of that stuff?" I was like, "I'm not doing it."
Some people get upset, man. You'd be surprised.
Well, that's their problem. Yeah. I think coach is such a great universal word for a representation of a person that helps people. So, and then I don't have to have any of the BS that goes along with it, sensei or professor or master this or sabu nim or Kru or guru or any of that. I mean, like, listen, there's only a couple people that I will call by title. Like, yesterday I got a text message from Carlos Machado texted me. I call him Master Machado, and because I have a huge high level of respect for him as a martial artist, but also him as a man. So yeah, he gets my respect. Like if I'm on the mat and attending a seminar with like Guru Dan Asano, it is Guru or Sifu. Like I respect. I'll call you whatever you want. Because I respect you. So, yeah, so like I just go by coach and I don't have to have any of the BS associated with it. It's a title because I help people and that's all I want to do. I don't need all the other names.
I like that.
Not my jam. But that was also influenced on me by one of my instructors, because I was like, "What do I call you?" And he's like, "My name's John. It's really nice to meet you." And I'm like, "You just want me to call you John?" I'm like, "You're like this high level guy." And he's like, "Nope, John it is." And I'm like, "Okay." So, yeah, man, because he's like, "Well, my mom named me John. I think that would be a good word." So like I said, do what you want. I don't care. Coach works for me. I love it. I coach for a living, and not only do I coach martial arts, I coach my kids' soccer team. I coach my kids' wrestling team. Coach is just a universal word. And then I also, as a martial arts instructor, you spend plenty of time on the mat, but also you get the, "Hey, Sifu, can I just talk to you for a second?" And then you become a life coach. You know what I mean? So like coach just works. Yeah. It's a good universal term. It doesn't offend anybody. And I don't have to like have all the other stuff. You know what I mean? Because I can, and the other thing is I can put the word coach on my jacket and somebody be like, oh, you're a coach? Yep, I'm a coach.
Yeah, universal.
I don't have to get into the, you're a sensei, you're this. Like, don't get me wrong. Those titles are important. They're all on my certificates that are not hung up anywhere. I am about what we're doing. I'm not about all the other stuff. I could care less. And if people are offended by what I'm doing, that's your problem. But I'm not offended if you want all of that stuff. And if I am in your school and your title is this, I call you that because I am there to respect you. When in Rome, be Roman. So other than that, like, it's just a word, just like Bruce Lee said. If you're going to get all hyped up about the word Jeet Kune Do, it's just a word.
Yeah. Like I said, I agree with it, man. Kind of takes you off that pedestal. I mean, I have to address people by their titles and stuff if I have them on the podcast and stuff like that.
No, and you should. Yeah. And because listen, what's the first lesson
Respect.
You should teach somebody? Yeah, you know that. So everything starts and ends with respect. And people want to call me other stuff. Professor. And like, hey man, can you just call me coach? It's just easier for me. But professor, okay, fine. Just call me professor. I'm not offended if they want to call me those titles, but I just prefer coach. And I didn't ask for any of it. My guy, Nick, man, he just, hey coach. And I was just like, yeah, okay, that'll work.
That's awesome.
So I just go by that, dude. Like I said, like, I'm not so serious about, look, when I run a mat, we bow in, we bow out. There's respect throughout the room. I don't need you to bow 1,000 times. We bow on the mat, bow off the mat, bow into class, bow out of class. Other than that, that's enough bowing for me. I've been in academies and grew up in academies where it's bow, 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 bow. Okay, cool. But like, so like I'm not into that. Like, it's fine. I want to get to the training. You know what I mean? But if other academies do that and that's what they want, and I'm at their academy, I do what they ask. You know what I mean? Because I respect them. So yeah, man. I mean, who cares? I'm good.
So, what's some advice you can give instructors out there?
I think what's important the most is know who you are, moral character, know who you are, be consistent in that, know what you're teaching, and have some expertise. Treat people with the highest level of respect first, and earn their respect. The thing is like there's two things. There's like a toggle that I have when it comes to teaching. Is the toggle goes like this: you have demand and command. I prefer to spend 85% of my time commanding the room because I've earned their respect. The only time I have to demand it is, the culture line that we talked about. Somebody's up here and I'm kind of just being nice and I'm being nice and being nice until it's time to not be nice. And I say, hey, we're not doing that anymore. That's when I start demanding. Now, I call you out. We have a conversation. Look, this isn't going to happen again. I prefer you don't act like that. I don't prefer you don't treat people like that. I prefer, hey, that's too much contact or that's too hard. I need you to tone it down a little bit. If you can't do that, we're going to have a problem. That problem now will get split two ways. One, I'm going to beat you up. And then that's me commanding or demanding. We're over here. Or you come down and you just do what I ask and you just fall in line. And you're like, cool, I want to be on this team. But I think you have to be good at knowing the line of command and demand. And that's just a leadership role, and being able to read the room and know, hey, these kids are coming in hot today. And knowing, because if you just bark at, that's not going to be helpful. And then they're going to be upset and they're going to think you hate them or, well, Mr. Robinson, he's just mad today. No, you guys came in hot. I'm going to treat you accordingly. My goal is to, because every class, here's the line. They either come in above the line or below the line or on the line. If they come in on the line, it's the best class ever, But if they come in above the line, all right, cool, everybody bow. We're running laps. We're doing jumping jacks. We're going to do bear crawls. I'm just going to get you so tired until I bring you down. All right, now everybody stand like a popsicle. Bow for respect. Hands behind your back. And then everybody settles in. So you got to just be able to know how to facilitate without being unkind or rude. And you can't just talk a bunch of smack. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not going to work. And you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to yell or scream. The only time I would ever yell or scream is for a safety issue.
Yeah, I agree.
Other than that, like, if you're confident in what you're doing and who you are and how you command and demand, you'll be fine. And then have just good technical knowledge, and don't be static in your technical knowledge.
Yeah, keep growing.
Life, keep going. And if you get better at learning how to facilitate something, write it down. It's kind of like software and hardware, right? Hardware is pretty much always going to stay the same. We might have to upgrade hardware a little bit, getting in shape, doing certain things, stretching, mobility, blah, blah, blah. But software, you got to keep upgrading the software. That's learning new stuff, learning new ways, new protocols, new coaching tips, better ways to say things, being able to communicate a technique instead of talking about it for 10 minutes. Hey, all right, guys, we're going to learn our fighting stance today. We're going to start with our hands. Curl your fingers down, wrap your thumbs around, thumbs on your cheeks. I don't have to come up with a better way of doing it. That's the fastest way I figured out how to teach. Make a fist and get your hands up. Every time I upgrade my software, if there's a better way of doing it, I'll do it. If there's not, that just goes with the upgrade.
Yeah.
You get what
Absolutely.
I mean? So, and then the other thing is that I think that's not talked about enough is you got to learn about business, man. You can be the greatest black belt, greatest coach, greatest instructor, not any style. But if you don't care about business and you don't care about serving people, giving good customer experiences, making sure your place is clean, making sure you've got good stuff, making sure you're taking care of your customers, following up with your customers, retention, having, systems in place that are able to replicate. I mean, you're gonna work yourself out of business. And I spend the majority of my time with my Focus Fight Team affiliates. I'm helping them with their curriculums and stuff, but it's teaching them, hey, I want to improve. I want more students. Okay, well, why do you not have more students? Well, I'm a really good coach. Are you? I don't know. Why are people leaving? Well, they're just not tough enough. I said, well, that's a you problem. You have to learn how to make the adjustments to be able to settle people in and give them an opportunity to grow. If you make it too hard, only people that want to do hard stuff, like super hard stuff, are going to sign up. If you're saying it's for everyone, well, make the program for everyone and then make sub-programs that are harder.
Yeah.
You got to have all these systems in place. And you got to do the business stuff. You got to make phone calls. You got to be able to talk on the phone. You got to be able to send emails. You got to be able to sign people up. You got to have social media. You got to learn all this business stuff, and I can't promote that enough because I love meeting school owners. I've had a couple of my affiliates that I've been trying to help that just won't make the change. They ended up having to close their schools, and I hate hearing that, but like, I told you everything you needed to do and it just didn't work. So, but the other thing is a lot of people don't know about school owners is not everybody has the, opportunity to do what I'm doing. This has been full time for me for 20 plus years. A lot of these school owners they've got full-time jobs. They've got families. You know what I mean? And then they're going above and beyond to serve the community. So like, it's tough out there, man. But if they could take the time to just learn a little bit about systems, it's 2026. There's automations, there's AI stuff that can help with all that. So you can just focus on being on the mat, So take that time to do some research. Might cost you a couple dollars. Spend the money.
It's worth it.
It will be totally worth it.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%, man. There's 3 of us that run the school that I teach at.
Martial art business owning isn't special. It's just basic business operations. The same in a dance studio, the same in gymnastics. If you go to a coffee shop, what are you doing? You're serving people, right? We got to have a good product or service. We got to be able to, we got money coming in, money coming out, right? That's all got to be listed. Those things have to be billed and paid, and we have to collect money. And then marketing, we have to get people to want to buy our product or service. It's business 101. It's not complicated. But you've got everybody that's passionate about martial arts, and they're like, I just want to be on the mat. I just want to be on the mat. And you have to care about this other side of it. And if you don't, you're going to be just teaching in your garage.
So before we get off here, I do want to put this out there. I'm in West Virginia, and I'm teaching a free American Heart Association CPR class to all martial arts instructors in the area. So if you know anybody over this way, send them my way, man. It's September 26th. Just have them shoot a message.
Good. Okay. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Hey, thanks for coming on, man. It's been awesome. I will put the links to everything in the description. So people listening, please check it out.